Okay, we are going to look at some different features of what a state is, the origins of a state, what you have to have in order to be a state. So there are four theories of how a state originated. And we're going to look at those real quick. The first one is the evolutionary theory. And in the evolutionary theory, I've got a picture down here of an Indian tribe. There are some who say, or some states that came to be because you have a small family who attaches itself to a piece of ground. And then throughout this process of where more families start to attach themselves to the same ground, you have these populations that form, and then you have someone of one of these families becomes the head. They create a government, and so eventually, once again, when all of these families settle in one particular territory, they lay claim to it, and then they become a sovereign state. So this is something that you see with all of these Indian tribes, or more primitive type things, where it just evolves out of necessity because you have more and more people who settle on a particular piece of ground. Force theory. Here I have a picture of Adolf Hitler, and when you think of Nazi Germany and how it came to be, you had an individual, Adolf Hitler, who took control of this territory and forced everyone to submit through force. The state becomes sovereign, and those in control form that particular government, and you don't have a choice. You have been forced into that, as opposed to evolution, where it just kind of happens through a process because you have more and more people and you need some sort of government to take care of the different things that are going on. This is the third origin or theory of origin of the state, is this idea of a divine right theory. And I've put a picture of Queen Elizabeth II, who is currently the Queen of England. And she truly believes that God created the state, God made the state sovereign, and the government is made up of those chosen by God to rule this certain territory. And then the population must obey the ruler. A lot of people would like to see Queen Elizabeth II step down, and whether that's Prince Charles or Prince William who takes over her position, no one's really sure how that's going to work out. But she really refuses to step down because she feels God put her in that position, and she should not resign from it. The social contract theory is the one we're going to spend more time with, and eventually I'm going to have a whole entire video just over the social contract theory. This is the one that we embrace here in the United States. And so what I have here at the bottom is a copy of our Constitution, which is a social contract. It is the contract between the people here and our government. And a contract is literally between two groups of people, and both of them have to give up something, and we'll go over that in the later video. But the social contract theory just says that a population in this particular territory is willing to give up some of their power to the government to promote the well-being of everyone. And so then we create this sovereign state. Obviously, we can't all do exactly what we want. We talk about all the freedoms that we have here in the United States, but there still are a lot of things that we cannot do. And we have agreed, if we're going to live here in this society, to give up some things in order for the betterment of everyone. And we'll talk about that later. Features of a state. There are four things you have to have in order to be a state. And the first one is population. You just have to have a body of people. Then you have to have territory that has defined spaces. So when you look at the state of Indiana and when you look at the United States, you can find them on a map, and most of us hopefully know what these things look like. Sovereignty, this one here is critical, so make sure that you star this or highlight this, underline this. Make sure you understand that sovereignty really is the key here to what makes a state a state. Sovereignty means that you have the power to make and enforce laws without having to check with any higher authority. You are the final authority within your borders. And then you have to have government in order to organize all of this. So the four things you have to have in order to be a state is population, territory, sovereignty, and government. And once again, sovereignty is the key here. So make sure that you highlight that, you understand that, because we're going to use that to differentiate between, is Indiana a state and is the United States a state?